Okay, there we are. So welcome, Beppe. Here we are again.
All right.
It's been a little while since we've met virtually like this, but yeah, as I mentioned to you, I thought it would be great to get together and have a chat. At least as a jumping off point today, a chat about different strategies for staying resourceful in this challenging time or changing landscape that we have now. And I've been having chats with a couple people about how to stay centered and different practices and rituals that they're developing now. So why don't we dig in there? So how have you been adjusting or thriving or coping?
Sure, adjusting, and it's an ever-going process. Finding ourselves pretty much in a new territory, and a new territory physically. Paradoxically, the new territory is home, and then also a new territory time-wise, and in the way the day is structured or unstructured. So kind of feeling a little bit disoriented there. I have found a certain point useful to resort to the old good make a plan for the day after. And I found that really helpful, and I do that at night before I go to sleep, and I believe that helps also in having a better sleep at night, where I kind of get into the sheets without having to figure out strategies for the day after. So it's much more relaxing to have a feeling like the day after I'm going to execute things that I have decided already. So waking up with less ambivalence about the day, I believe it's a great help. I'm very careful about not only putting down a list of things to do, but putting the timing when I'm going to do those things. So I kind of set them up in some sort of priorities, and then I set the times, and I try to be as as precise as possible in terms of honoring those times there. So that's been one of the things. And
it's interesting because a lot of my coaching clients, a topic that comes up quite often is this idea of how to get good sleep. And it's a lot of people find it a challenge to get good sleep or have issues with insomnia. And it's interesting. I haven't heard people talking about it too much right now, but I think that must be an issue. And one of the great strategies or tips in terms of getting good sleep is getting everything off your mind and getting it out onto a piece of paper or to-do list, so that your unconscious mind knows that things are being dealt with, and then it frees you up to just relax and go to sleep. So yeah, that sounds fantastic. I'm curious whether you're good at writing the things down. Or are you good at listening to yourself the next day when you see the list?
I'm good. I didn't get the question. I'm good at listening to myself when I see the.
We're sort of going on a tangent here, but it's an interesting topic that we for ourselves, we play the role as kind of the executive or the one who's deciding what gets done. And we play the role of the person who gets things done. And some people are good at making a list and not so good. They rebel when it comes time to execute on it. But as long as you're, I think, a gentle boss, then people will follow through.
Yeah, if you are a a good boss, let's say, so that I'm not going to be expecting myself to do things that I'm not going to be capable of doing it. Then I try to treat myself well in that sense. That when I make a plan, is not a wish list. Truly, are things that I pretty much I estimate I will be capable of doing it. So there are things under my control, and I also make a mixture of things that are not only duties and chores, but that include good things that I do for myself, like taking a moment to read, or and even that is in my timeline. Or every morning at that time that for me to do meditation. These are things that I do with pleasure, and they're interspersed among things that I'm not that crazy about doing or excited about doing. So I believe that what is important is to really put down a realistic thing, and if you have to go in one direction or another, I go more into putting less things rather than some extra to see whether I can manage to do everything. I make a light homework, and that way I'm pretty sure I can accomplish what I set myself to do. I'm not too demanding. I make a plan for a lazy guy, and I
That's great.
go with that,
That's great. Yeah, I think I use a similar approach. I put down things that I feel like sometimes it's just 2 or 3 main things, and I have that's what I'm going to get done today, and then I get down to them at a certain point. I don't always assign times, but I think I have a general sense of what time of day I'm going to do each one. And I think another thing that's quite useful now in this new circumstance where we have to stay at home for a while is to have a nice balance between ritual and some things that are new also. So I've been trying to find some new things to read, perhaps taking a walk in a direction that I don't usually go, of course, not too far. So even if I'm going to the store, I might take a different approach going there. I'm trying to introduce some newness or some variety so that I don't get overly habituated in this time and too routine.
As you mentioned briefly a walk, but that is extremely important for me. At a certain point when this lockdown started, I stayed home day after day after day. We are experiencing that the day is like the same like the previous one, and there is no real definition of different moments of the day. There is, but it's kind of it's not structured as at least I was used to. So it's like this, especially the spending time at home was getting to me, because they end up spending a lot of time sitting at the computer in front of screens, and then my body starts feeling kind of stiff and just uncomfortable. I'm really advocate for physical exercise. It really keeps me on the beat. It gives me going for a walk, and I'm going at a certain point. I decided just to make part of my routine going for a walk. I'm talking a power walk, really super active walk, maybe including a little bit of running in between. But it's a time to reflect. I have ideas coming during this moment. I appreciate the fresh air. I appreciate the trees. They're kind of budding, and the flowers and the things are blooming. I mean, at least to have a chance of enjoying this incredible spring, which is so much of an opposite of what we are experiencing with this virus. and kind of join that kind of energy outdoors. It's really important. But then at the same time, it might happen that for a couple of days rains, and so then you're home. So then as you said, what can we do? Something new, something to experience. So I got myself like a big yoga ball, and which, without knowing, turned out to be the worst enemy of my cat. He runs away. He doesn't actually walk into the room where the big yoga ball is. So it's so I'm discovering these things, and it's fantastic to lie down on a ball and just arch my back, that to touch the floor with my head really gives a beautiful traction of my spine, opens up my chest, and it's fun. It's very kinesthetic. It calls the body for attention, because you have to be careful about balance. A few times you fall off left and right, and it's playful in a way. And then I had this great idea to buy a hula hoop, and that has been also a lot of fun.
I hope you make some films that maybe we can edit that in. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. I have one.
So it's nice. I think that's I was going to say, I think that's a great example of introducing something new and something fresh, because
exactly,
for me, I think after a couple of days, I just started getting very impatient, and I didn't like the feeling that, some external circumstances saying that I'm on hold. And at the same time, like I can't be on hold, or I feel like I can't be on hold. So I need to keep moving, or I want to feel that my life and my goals are moving forward. And I really like the idea that things are developing and that I'm staying in shape. And I think it's been really useful for me to think about time after this. And, right now it's an unknown. We don't know when that's going to be. But just knowing that it will come at some time, and kind of what things do I want to be doing, and what do I want to have accomplished during this time, has been really useful for me. So I think having the daily ritual, having some variety. I've definitely experienced a lot of variety for food, which has been since I'm cooking all the time, it's given me an opportunity to try out a bunch of new recipes. And
I got completely what you say, and I have that experience as well. The tendency of wanting to keep on moving and to try to be creative, and even in we're talking about daily plan, but even in terms of a more long-term plan, what is going to happen? There really I bump into this unknown place. So on one side I feel that's a part right now that is out of my control, and I want to steer away and from it. Also, I don't know whether this is a cultural thing. In terms of, I sense that living here, and I felt that pretty much throughout all my life here, which is a long stretch of decades, this tendency of keep on moving on no matter what. I believe that is quintessentially very American or very Western in a way. It's like move on. It's like, and there is, for me sometimes, or at least my perception, too little regard to the fact that sometimes it's good to stop. Actually, it's really good to stop, and it's because something needs to be fixed. It's almost like a car that you see a light that says you got to check the car, and eventually you have to stop the car, because it's hard to fix your car while still running. So somehow I find useful to just accept and abide to the fact that now is the time to stop and reflect. And there is a lot of stuff that comes out of that reflections and all the questions that we don't want to steer or channel too quickly towards a conclusion. And but you know, question is really big existential questions of what are we doing and where are we at?
Well, let me clarify a little bit. I mean, I'm not. And by the way, this is part of my character. I think some people have different appetites for goals and how much you think about the future versus the present. So I'm certainly not saying ignore this moment, don't be in the present. What I'm saying is, in addition to that, I enjoy having a sense that there will be a future and enjoying that idea. As opposed to sitting here, you know, and saying, oh, I can't do anything. You know, I'm stuck. And so I agree completely. It's a nice time for contemplation, for kind of reflecting on stillness for a moment, and like you said, some of the bigger questions in life. And at the same time, I'm happy to discover that that many of the goals that I have for myself this year are still things that I can work on. And I don't mean necessarily economic goals, but you know, personal goals, things that are important to me. So yeah, and I think it's balancing those two places of here I'm going for something in the future, and here I'm gonna, as you said, just stop and be in this moment.
And also, when I say stop, I don't need stop in stillness or getting into a, you know, that kind of marsh of I can't do anything. Actually, not that stopping in that sense, because you can't do anything. Actually, stopping because it's a deliberate decision. It's like, I'm going to stop. I don't want to do certain things now. But actually, and paradoxically, that opens up a space to get to do things that have not been done out of our usual rush or our usual going by inertia towards, you know, what our days are. And so kind of even finishing things that we have kept in that unfinished things drawer, and it's time to open the drawer and put your hands there, and enjoy the satisfaction of having the time to do that part as well. Things that have been physically, realistically, and metaphorically neglected during the time that kind of blinds us. You know, it's like almost like our own pace, our own beat kind of blinds us of, you know, in front of certain things that either the recurrency of the hypnotic sameness of doing the same things kind of blurs our attention to certain things that we can notice now.
I mean, one of the things that we chatted briefly yesterday, one of the things we were talking about is one thing that's so unique about this time is that almost everyone in the world is experiencing this moment in some respect, and that we're all, for the first time, on the same side of a particular issue. We may look at it differently, but we're all kind of experiencing the same challenge. And another thing that's amazing in this time is everyone is being asked to develop something new. Everyone's lifestyle has changed. Almost everyone. You know, I can't imagine that there's anybody who lives at home in this sort of spatial distancing. And we're coming up almost to 3 weeks now. And And so we're really building new rituals, and that's an amazing experience for many people, and that we're all doing that at the same time. So that's kind of amazing. The other thing that occurred to me as you were just speaking is you were talking about this drawer of things that haven't been attended to, and for some reason I was thinking of the door that you told me about to your kitchen that you recently interacted with, and I mean that's a beautiful example of taking something that needed attention, and then it became a whole project for you, which you said was satisfying, right?
Was absolutely satisfying, and that brought me into that what I call it's a state of grace, in which it goes really to what we were talking about, being center, and that state of grace is to be in the situation and in the condition so that your thought is applied constantly at a task that engages you into a problem-solving kind of situation, and at the same time involves your body, and involves your will, your desire, your engagement into something. So basically, it's a form of being present, being engaged with something else. It's a relational thing, and the door is a door, but the door it's just a piece of universe out there that has the shape of the door in that moment, and I'm interacting with that, and I'm staying with that, and I'm connected. So that's the power of having of being applying your thinking, and then you're really channeling an energy, because the problem starts for me and for some others when the thoughts are kind of there running around without any leadership or without any application, and they just run around, and there are and among those there are significant thoughts, there are irrelevant thoughts, there are stupid thoughts, there are all together, and that they're not doing anything. Usually when that happens, and especially when that happens in a contest and in a frame as we are now, free thoughts that way, they're not going to run towards a good positive direction spontaneously, but they tend to go into darker places, into creating anxiety, creating depression sometimes. And so somehow it's like to be able to get hold of your thoughts and kind of sort them out, and being able also to observe them and to detach them rather than being led by them blindly. It's a process of centering, which is pretty much the process of meditation, and whether you're aware of them, it's important. And then at the same time, applying your thought, whether it's your breathing, or it's a mantra, or it's whatever point of attention you have decided to use, and that is pretty much a sure shot towards a better feeling, or towards a sense of well-being, so that happens when you are engaged into an activity. I say the door. I'm a very kinesthetic kind of person, so something like that really takes me in. I can be engaged in writing, whether I'm writing to sort out my thoughts, whether I'm writing a poem, whether or even reading, and just reading is a more contemplative kind of situation, and the reading kind of engages you in taking you somewhere else, which is a much blessed form of escapism now, so. But anything that engages your mind, your attention in a place that of choice, or in a place where it can unfold in a positive, creative way. It's anything that can make you do that. It's great. And I believe that there are hundreds of different things that can do that for you.
You know, we're coming to a time where I'm going to have to pause this talk. But, you know, what I want to throw out is maybe when we continue this the next time, a good jumping off point might be this idea of meditation, and specifically the idea of engaging your attention. And I feel that a lot of people throw out the word of meditation, and it's kind of an abstract idea. And so maybe we can start by discussing a couple of different ways, like what is meditation, what rituals do we use when meditating, and so that people have an opportunity to try that if they're not somebody who engages in that regularly. And it's really a ritual of training attention and training how to experience different states of mind. So maybe we can jump off there.
Yeah, that sounds like a good topic.
But thank you for this chat today, and the light seems to be increasing around you, which is nice. So, all right, so I'll see you next time.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.